Now it's my turn to talk a little bit more SESAC things, and that is an introduction into these eco buildings and the work we have been doing since 4.5 years back. First, I start with just a short introduction of our agency. The Energy Agency of Southeast Sweden is an agency that is owned by the regions and municipalities throughout the Southeast Sweden. It's 25 municipalities, and it has been working now for 10 years. And the main tasks you can see here is the energy efficiency and to promote renewables as much as we can. At the moment, we are dealing with 3 main areas. You can see it on that roll up over here. 3 main areas which fits very much into what we have said earlier today. It's buildings, of course, and that is energy efficiency and also of renewable energies to support that building, but also transportation and mobility management. And the third is about lifestyle and learning, as we say, and that is making awareness a big issue in different kind of projects. We are 22 people at the moment, and I don't have a map, but it's in the southeast corner of Sweden where we have our area. If you can see that's our homepage address, where you can read a little bit more. There's one section in English as well. We used to have one newsletter 2 or 3 times every half year, not in English though, but in Swedish, and you can read a little bit more on our homepage. What we're going to talk about these days is eco buildings, and by that we mean energy efficient buildings, as we said earlier. And the big question is, of course, how to achieve this goal, to make our buildings, both the existing ones and the new buildings that will come, as Major Johnson just told us. That is the question. How to do that? And I give you the answer at the very beginning here. This is the answer. It's not only one thing to do. There are a lot of things to do, and we have been very close to this earlier this morning in different presentations here. It's about awareness raising, of course, both on the public level, but also by those people that are taking decisions about these things. For instance, the local political decision is crucial in these matters. That is what our Major Bo Frank told us this morning, for instance, here in Växjö. And without that decision that was taken in '96 about the fossil fuel-free city here in Växjö, we hadn't achieved what we have achieved so far. It's a lot about information and education to different kind of stakeholders. It's an innovative cooperation. It's a new situation we are facing, and that needs new innovative cooperation manners. It is, of course, about technology. I say enough good technology, because it's not every time necessary to have the most new technology for doing this. It's about planning, design phase, and you can see it's about the construction phase, of course, at site. It's about using this building when it's built. It's about metering what is used and so on, and to be pedagogic to all those people that are using this house. And of course it's about maintenance and operation during all the life cycle. And I will in some way now go through all these points here, which is the result of the SESAC project actually. And what is more here, it's about this. The overall theme through all this must be the energy efficiency question. You need to start with that up here, and you need to stick to that all the way, otherwise it won't work actually. In SESAC, we have been working with a work package, we call it, and the name is best practice. And the objectives for this work package is what you see here. It's to elaborate and transfer this best practice information. Of course, avoid duplication of work, create this technical and behavior front edge platform, but also to pave the way for cost-effective realization. There's a lot of work that need to be done a long time before you start to dig in the ground. This is one of the first things to observe, not only in SESAC, but of course everywhere where you're going to do this. This picture was created, I think, 3-4 years ago, when we just had started this cooperation with our friends in Holland and in France, because we have had, after a while, after half a year, we realized that we had different kinds of thinking about this. We needed to do some structural thinking and to come together to a final version of what we're going to do. So this plan was made, and I will try to explain that to you. It's a little complex, but nevertheless. Up here we have the task to be done. That was to build eco-buildings. These eco-buildings would be monitored afterwards, and the result would be very visible. We knew that from the beginning. And we also knew what kind of restrictions that were set from the European Union. We needed to reach a level that was about 30 to 40% beneath the national building code at that time. So that was a high restriction. We knew this. We started to do this coordination. I have the privilege to be the technical coordinator, so we started to coordinate this technical strategy already from the beginning. And we found out that we needed to have some local coordinators and work package leader in every city that should be aware of these things, because they were the ones that should confront and to meet the architects and the consultants in the building process. And they, in that turn, would meet the builders and the contractors. And they were the ones who finally would make this task here. And as I said earlier, the first challenge was to have this overall theme living from all this thinking down here about energy efficiency, and to make that live all the way up here. That is the main challenge, actually. There are lots of hindrances on this way. It's, of course, technical hindrances, it's language hindrances, there are legal hindrances, and so on and so on. There are lots of them. Even if we talk in one country, for instance in Sweden, there are lots of hindrances during this path here. That should be notified very clearly. And it is essential that somebody have the responsibility for keeping the focus on these items through this line here. As I said, there were clear restrictions from the European Union from the beginning. They were told in a best table. It's an abbreviation for something I don't remember. It doesn't matter. But here the restrictions were very clear. This document was used in every level here, in every contact in between the levels here, and was disseminated very clearly among the partners, like this. And you see what it says, don't bargain. It was no possibility to negotiate these restrictions. They were clear, and it was an agreement made with the European Commission, and if we don't stick to that agreement, we don't get any money. So everything was really clear about that. It is very easy for you that have been working in the building sector, because this line here, that will last for approximately 2 or 3 years, from the first planning here down to a realized building. That will take 2 or 3 years, and there will be a lot of people involved during this travel here. That makes it actually really difficult to keep these restrictions in focus all the time. But that is a very specific and very crucial thing to remember. Don't bargain this. In other words, if a political decision is taken here, that must be disseminated all the way and checked that all these things will follow the process. Follow-up is another key word. That means that it's an ongoing conversation, we can say, between different partners in this line here. And it is also necessary in order to all the time keep focus on this here. One other thing that which is also an experience from this work is that what is said here, you probably cannot read it, but it is very easy to in a contract write that we want a building that applies with a national building code minus 30%. Dot. It's very easy to write that in one sentence, but we must be very clear about that. That is not enough, by far not enough. It takes a lot more than that. And the reason, as I say, is that this is a long journey to travel in order to get to the goal here that is expected. That is to write in a tender document that we would like this house minus 30%. That is not applicable. I hope you understand that. That is not necessary. It doesn't work. We have been experienced in order to when we found this out, we needed to have a work program, and what we did in this project was the following here. We made some activities. We made quite many pre-meetings. We call it pre-meetings in each of these 3 leading cities, where we continuously, twice a year, talked about these things before and in the beginning of the planning process. It's very important to say. Very early in the process, this was done, to highlight these questions. We also were very clear from the technical coordination side to give feedback on these meetings and follow up these meetings. You can find them still on the homepage of our project, where people can go back afterwards to read and to understand why. We made some on-site visit together with our friends in Holland and France. We went to Växjö here to see how we have made some change from electrical heating to district heating, how that has been made. And we went to Gothenburg in order to find out how they use sewage water for production of heat. We also have had some bigger get-together events during these years. For instance, this General Assembly. We have had workshops within these when people meet. And in fact, this conference is a kind of a General Assembly, actually, but it's a little bit more than that. And the main items in this during this work has been these issues here, as you see. Keeping focus, that is to verify all these steps and to educate and inform people continuously. And as I said before, there are quite a lot of people that is being involved. So this is a task that should be planned before in advance. And of course, this is a very important thing to understand, that you need to be very clear about the prerequisites for the design phase, to tell very clear what is expected, to have requests. We also founded some internal key values in order to be able to verify that the thing was going on that we expected it to be. We found some key values that were internal in the project. And we also talked quite a lot of this crucial phase. Starting up and all these things is crucial, but it's also crucial to take into operation. To maintain focus over the taking into operation phase and to verify that thing is working like you expected. This is a picture from an old school book that I found when I was studying for engineering. And it's pretty old, this picture, but it's really good. This is a time line here. This is where you start to think about a new building or to retrofit an old building. After half a year, you start your design phase. After 1 year or so, you start the construction work. And this building will be in operation for 50 years, so it's a long time here to come. And this is an axis showing the possibility to influence the design of the house, the properties of the house. In this case, the energy property. And what it says here is that it is already here in the beginning, in the few first months, when this early planning is starting, process is going on. That is when you have the possibility to set the limit, what you really want to achieve, and to take decision on what the goal is. This is very important. You see here the accumulated costs, they raise very quickly. And that's why it's so crucial to have these decisions taken very early in the process. Finally, after some work, we found out some, as we say, fruitful steps. That is the result of our joint ambitions and joint work in the project. In order to be able to fulfill the requirements. It could be more than 6, of course, and this is individual, but the main items is here, I think. It's about having a start-up meeting in the beginning for the ones who are engaged in the really beginning, to make them understand what the task really is about. Different kind of stakeholders should be involved. And then the next thing is calculate. we have lots of good computers, we have lots of good software programs, we have lots of knowledge, but the fact is that we calculate too little in advance. We stress that this point here, the calculation and the possibility to change different properties when calculating is, of course, an instrument that should be used very much more. I think maybe I say, because my experiences in Sweden, maybe this is a culture question. You normally don't do this so much, but I think if we are going to reach these goals, as we say, 20% by 2020 in Europe and 15% in Savannah, we need to start to calculate a lot more and to understand what these calculation results mean, actually. When talking about computers, it's easy to say shit in, shit out. You need to put in the proper things into it, and then you get proper things out of it. That is a very important thing to do. Then we had a discussion about coordinated design tests, startup meeting at building site. It's also a crucial thing, because the people at the building site are those who are finally deciding the quality of the building. If people at building site is not aware about the work being done before and what the goal is, we will not succeed in these matters. That's for sure. So this program is also quite a lot of much about educating, informing people at building site what this is all about. Yes, and even further training at building site, because it's a long process. And finally, here, this is verification, trying to verify what has been decided earlier, what has been calculated earlier. You need to verify that on site. And that is also during the whole construction time or period that this must be done. This was just an introduction to our work about best practices in SESAC. And I have mentioned the most important things here. During the afternoon now, after lunch, we will hear from each one of the speakers how they have adopted this thinking. And we can have further discussion on this. So, thank you for your attention, and it's 12 o'clock. Surprisingly, it's 12 o'clock. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, welcome back after lunch. I will say a special welcome to all the new Dutch people that have arrived here. Some 25 new Dutch people arriving, and welcome them very much here in our conference. We will continue as planned and invite another Dutch person here, and that is Zeno Winkels from Woonbron. He will tell us a little bit more about one of the SESAC projects that were made in Delft, and it's about renovating buildings, social housing. So welcome, Zeno. Like that.
Okay.
I hope it works.
Hello, good afternoon. For the new 25 Dutch people, I'm very happy that you came to Växjö to listen to this Dutch presentation. I will try not to lie, but if I make any mistakes, please stand up and help me. You have missed the introduction of this afternoon, and we have been told that this is actually the house of immigrants, where the Swedes used to get together before they moved to, for example, the USA to settle there. So I was thinking there must have been a lot of booklets for the Swedish people how to speak English. And I figured I'd start out in Swedish. Jag talar inte svenska means I don't speak Swedish. Måltid är smaklig means the lunch was very good. And svenska är inte svårt means Swedish is not difficult. I'm going to tell you a little about the Woonbron Housing Association in the Netherlands, which is a member of the SESAC team and its project in Delft. The other one, underneath. Oh, fair enough, thanks. Okay, a short story about the Woonbron Housing Association. I will introduce the housing association itself, tell you a little bit about the area where we are doing our project, tell you some details about the energy-specific things that we are doing over there, and then a short preview of some of the further steps they are considering at the moment. They are the 5th housing association in the Netherlands, and they have about 50,000 houses. In a city like Delft, which is the city I'm talking about, they own 20% of the stock of all houses. So they are quite a big player in that area. For those of you who don't know the Netherlands, we are over there. But I guess 50% knows the Netherlands quite well. The housing association Woonbron has grown from 15,000 to 50,000 units in about 5 or 6 years by merging with partners in other cities. This has given them some more management staff and more quality and more capacity to develop strategies to let their houses to low-income tenants. And they have 7 strategic themes. The first one is quite obvious. If you're going to do a whole part of a city, you're going to have to work with local partners, like the city or other housing associations. The second one is creating successful environments to live is quite new. What Woonbron is trying to do in the Netherlands is fitting people with the same lifestyle in fitting areas. So there may be a street full of people that like street barbecues. And when the national team plays, the whole street becomes orange. While your average urban professional may rather not talk to his neighbors and will only pluck out his iPhone, ears after his front door. So they have sort of made up 5 different lifestyles, and they are trying to put those people next to each other in a way those people would like it. And then it can be very difficult because that professional urban person also wants to meet some other people. So it is not working so good, but it's one of the strategic things they're working on. Number 5, empowerment of the souterrain means supplying housing to the people that would normally live in the basement. So at the very low level of the Dutch society. It could be people that are just out of prison, alcoholics, drug abusers, drug users, I mean. You can understand they want 10% of their housing, so there's 5,000 houses available for that kind of people that would end up in the souterrain of the housing market. That is 5,000 houses for people that need a lot of attention in their lifestyle. So it's a big strategic theme for them. There's a lot of capacity going in that direction. You can understand that the people in the one street are not very happy when Woonbron supplies a house for people that are just back from prison, or just back from prison because of child abuse. Stuff like that is what they are trying to do, trying to pay attention to and try to make a strategic theme to do it good. Sustainability, we're going to talk about today. And social investments mean that they don't always need to make a profit on some of the houses they lend or rent. They also make a point of not charging the same rent to everybody in the same street. So if you have a relatively high income for a low income person, you may be charged a higher rent than one who has a low income for a low income person. introduction of the Pothof area in Delft. It's 1% of the total area of Delft. There's about 2,000, oh, you can read it yourself. In total, it has 40 nationality. So while Växjö may be the greenest city in Europe, that part of Delft may be the most colorful part of Europe. I'm not sure. If you look at a list like that, you would think, well, I must go for dinner over there. There's a lot to eat. But if you look from closer by, you can see it's not so friendly and it's not so welcoming. And it's really one of the areas that needs working on in Delft. There's a couple of challenges for the housing association. They wanted the entire neighborhood to redevelop, but we don't have space in Delft or in the Netherlands in general to put everybody out and clean up the area and then put everybody back in again. We have to do it step by step. There's an emphasis in the total project on the social livability. So that is more important than the energy efficiency that we are talking about today. They want the people to remain living there, to stay healthy or to become healthy, and to understand that Woonbron is taking care of the area it possesses. There's also attention for water, energy, traffic, and waste. This is the area that you saw on the Google Maps picture. And the first field is the brown field over there. It's the first field they're going to do, and it's about a 12, maybe 15-year program. So, because in those 12, 15 years, a child can grow up. You know, he gets born in 2007. He's only 10 years old in the year 2017, and all he has experienced is work in his area. So they decided, in another European project, to build the park first. So this total redevelopment of the area has started with a park, which is, when you're looking at the budgets, quite a hard way to begin because there's no money coming back from building a park. But they built up the park first just to make sure that the children could play over there. And those are the kind of investments they make when they make strategic themes to keep their areas healthy and robust. This is the first field. The taller building is a refurbishment. The less smaller buildings are new, and the area in between is also the parking lot. So it's raised, and the cars are underneath. As an energy consultant, you need a scheme, of course. And when we started with this program, well, the SESAC program is 4.5 years old now, but you must realize that the writing of the program must have started closely to about 7 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. We got the SESAC messages from Stefan and a guy called Manuel Swart that you will see tomorrow, I think. And these sort of fitted the Dutch national regulation, which is called EPC. We, of course, had to do the quality checks that Stefan has been talking about before lunch. And then we concluded, okay, we can build this. In the refurbishment, the measures that were proposed in the SESAC proposal were just about the level of energy efficiency that you need for a new building in the Netherlands at that time of writing. So we were going to refurbish, but we're going to go for energy standards as if it was a new building. We had to do some extra checks in refurbishment because nothing is straight, everything is different from what you're going to expect. That's what I'm going to talk about now. We had, before lunch, Stefan Olsson from the energy agency of this area has told us about the checks that you need to do on the site when you are building. So you cannot just demand 30% extra energy efficiency. You have to make sure that it really happens and does not only get designed, but the carpenters must do their work, the builders must do their work. He's been talking to us about this for the last 5 years, I think, Stefan. So we decided to make a quality control system that was positioned between the builders and the developer. The way we are doing this project, we have the housing association, which just really says what it wants. The developer says, okay, I will do it. And the builders obviously build the building. So we had to put this up between the builders and the development company. There's on-site test for insulation with an infrared camera, which is not so expensive anymore as it was 20 years ago. So we build a test apartment, heat it up, and we take pictures to see if there's any cold bridges, any leaks, and then we continue to go for the next apartment. This, of course, has to be done by an objective expert, because you don't want the fighting between the builders and the developer about the quality of the checks. And you have to train people on the site. Now, one of the good things that we noticed is that the builders are actually very happy when they have a program like this, because they are professionals like you all are, and they are very keen on developing their work. So it's not considered as a pain in the ass, rather more as an opportunity to fix some of the difficult problems that you run into, especially in a refurbishment situation. So this is just a picture of the one of those tests. You can see the heat coming out underneath a door. There's another one on top of the building. I'm not a builder myself, unlike some of you, so I'm not going to try even to say any details about it. But I did get some tips from the work floor, and they did promise to kill me if I wasn't going to tell you all when given this opportunity. The last one is the most important one. In refurbishment, there are no straight walls. So things may look very good at the architect's office and on the drawings as well, but when the guy has to put the insulation around the corner and it's not a 90-degree corner, he has to fix it and he has to solve it. And that is the moment that you must make sure that he pays attention to the detail, and that he must be given time to pay attention to that detail, and it must also be told to somebody else for the next corner to make sure that guy doesn't waste the same amount of time again. Every once in a while I do this presentation for students in Dutch, so it's a bit more fluent then. And then I tell them that in the year 2000, the EU called for the strategic goal to be the most competitive? Yeah, to be the most competitive economy in the world. Out of that strategic goal, the Concerto program was developed. And within the Concerto program, SESAC, which is half of the people here, got money to run its project. This then eventually leads to the infrared picture in the Poptolf in Delft, where we find that we need to put some extra insulation or extra attention, as the builders like to put it, to some details on the different floors there. So those are then one of the few moments that I think, well, this may actually work, these strategic goals. But I think that the year 2010 may not be attained. We are also in this SESAC project putting PV panels on the facade of the building, which we had done in the year 2003 before. And I cycled there to take some pictures. And you can see them right there on the left building. So you can really see how the integration has, of these PV system has improved. Right here it's just pushed up on the wall, almost like with double tape. And here it's more integrated. So far I've understood today that it is mandatory to show yourself on a bicycle. So I've managed to put in a picture of myself on the bicycle just during lunchtime. This bicycle, in fact, was developed in the year 1955 in Sweden, and it was used by the army to transport, to transport army things, I guess. I transport my son in it, who is a big fan of the national team, as you can see. In the energy system of that area, there's heat supply, and Woonbron has bought some shares in the organization that is going to supply that heat. It is together with the city of Delft and other local partners, and it is going to be more environmental friendly heat in the future. So therefore they took some interest in it, but at the moment it's just normal heat from a CHP, I think, or from a boiler. And they bought some priority shares in it to be able to say something about the tariffs, about the service levels, about return on investment, and so not only build the building as energy efficient as possible, but also keep a saying in the energy or the heat that's going to be supplied to the tenants that live there. I think this is the last slide, I'm not sure. Yes, it is. Now that it's taken these shares in this heat company that's going to deliver heat in all of Delft, Woonbron is actually thinking about outsourcing all its heat systems to the heat company. So to make the decision for the heat company to deliver heat to certain areas easier, because it's then actually the owner of the heat system in the houses. And it's also, otherwise you have to fight with every part of real estate, with the heat supplier. Well, when are you going to deliver it? Who's responsible for delay? And the boiler may already have broken down, so they want to get rid of the total boiler systems. There's the quality checks in the building and the way of working has been approved by everybody involved and everybody that we tell it to. So we are certainly going to continue that. But we have found that the builders put the ventilation units, which are just holes, plastic in holes, and they can be somewhere between 1 and 5, and they just build them in without thinking if it's in position 1 or in position 5. But that does say a lot about the air freshness in the house. So we found another weak point that we really need to pay attention to, especially since the houses are so good insulated. So we're going to add that to the quality checks. We are now working on a feedback system for the tenants. We feel that we have developed a good building. We have checked to see if the building was nice or it was built by the quality asked, and we are now in the last step where the tenants come in, and we need to help them as well to change their behavior and to use the building as we feel is the best way. So we, on an energetic point of view. So we're going to give them a brochure what to do with the windows and the technical stuff, but we are also going to supply them with a feedback system to tell them how much energy they are using at the moment and to help them set their standards. We're very interested, I think, in the discussion, I think it's planned for tomorrow, about how far you should go. For example, do you want to make a passive building? Is 30% energy efficiency, is that good enough? Or should we go for 60%, and at what cost, especially as compared to the other strategic themes that we started with? It's not like they have nothing to do except energy efficiency. They have a lot to do, and energy efficiency. Well, I think I've been way too fast, Stefan.
Yes, that's correct. Can you tell a little bit more about this cooperation with HTC and these special shares?
Yeah.
A little bit more about that.
Oh, shit.
Are you going to use heat from the zon?
Nee, maar dat gebeurt wel in Delft. In the SESAC project, it was foreseen that the city of Delft developed a heat company that would use residual heat from a factory nearby. That factory did not want to sell its heat because it wanted to make its decision without being contracted to supply heat. So we have looked around and we have found a water treatment plant in the area that has a lot of waste heat. We therefore went for Gothenburg in the SESAC project to see how they were using heat from that plant. This is a heat system that we are going to build in an existing city. So all the partners in the city must sort of be positive towards sustainable heat, because otherwise they are not going to connect their houses or their real estate. If we are not absolutely sure that they are going to connect their real estate, it makes no sense to invest in the pipes in the ground, which is the big investment when you want to use sustainable energy from the water waste treatment plant in our area. So the city of Delft had to involve all partners, including the Woonbron Housing Association, which owns, like I said, 20% of the housing stock in Delft, to become a shareholder in its heat company. Well, then again, the housing association didn't have really a lot of positive vibes about putting a lot of money in pipes in the ground for a heat company. So they had to find out some way of working together and making sure that the heat company was interesting for Woonbron as well. Well, then came this structure with these shares, in which both the city and the housing association can, for example, talk about their climate goals. And their climate goals may say, well, we want you to connect to the water waste treatment plant in the year 2012. While the commercial guys with their shares, they may say, well, we better wait for 5 years because we still have plenty of natural gas around here. So that kind of decision making is now being put into this platform for this company. In the meanwhile, we have in Rotterdam and The Hague and Leiden similar companies existing, and we are also on the lookout to see if we can make one big circle of a pipe and connect the different systems when necessary. And I think Woonbron has shares in many of those different smaller heat systems. So that way they are sort of slowly moving to the supply side of energy, but it's also a difficult point because they are a housing association and their reason on earth is to give good housing to low-income people. So they must always ask themselves, how close should we get to the supply side? So that is the detail, I think, in this slide, Stefan. So,
how is the heat distributed in each house? Is it the hot water system or the radiators?
No, the daily hot water comes from the same pipe as the radiator.
Do you have radiators?
Yes, yes, they have radiators. And also they have, I had not seen it before, but they have the heating in the ceiling. I can show you a picture of it because it's a refurbishment situation and they could not put it in the floor, the heating, so they put it in the roof.
Some more questions? Yes? How would you cope with the loss and price, the down price? We're talking about total temperature distribution system, right?
Yeah.
How do you cope with the losses in the pipe?
Well,
Can you say that question?
yeah, the question is how do we cope with the heat losses in the pipes when it's a long distance? And the honest answer is that we put it in the price of the heat, of course. And I think it's just when energy prices are high enough, it is efficient to use those pipes over the long distance. And in fact, it's also, especially when the quality of the heat is, when the water is low, when it's not so many degrees, the heat loss is not so much.
I can add that here in Växjö we are very familiar with how district heating system being used throughout the whole city. And approximately it's less than 10% of the losses. Yeah, as I said, the district heating system here in Växjö, the distribution temperature is around, it's about 70 in summertime and 100 degrees in wintertime. Something like that. And the loss is Lars Alén, maybe he is here. No, he's not here anymore. But something like 7-8% totally is the losses. So it's important to be aware of that, but it's not a crucial thing. Do we have any more questions?
Maybe you could also comment that the efficiency of the boiler is much better if you have a big boiler, and you could also produce the electricity at the same time in a better way. So in total, the losses is not very big, and they are not really have a big impact on the total.
Anything, Sarah?
Yes, Sarah.
Yeah, we're making a big investment here.
The question is, I will repeat it so I have some time to think about it as well. You're insulating the houses, you're building very efficiently, and in the meantime you're investing in pipes in the ground for the heat system to work. Are you sure that you're going to get back your money? Well, financial-wise, we've found the energy supplier more than happy to invest in 95% of the costs of the pipes. And the housing associations and the city of Delft have only paid for 5% of the price, and they have their shares with their priorities. So financially wise, it wasn't such a big investment. But the true answer to your question is, I think, in the organization that has been, the platform that has been made by this organization to promise to connect everybody. And then we still have a lot of demand. Not so efficient, perhaps efficient, but a lot of houses. So we still think that we can create the demand necessary. And the commercial organization thinks the same, so I guess there's a point there.
Yeah, good. More questions? Good. Thank you, Zeno. And we will have opportunity to talk more about these things in the summary this afternoon or in the panel discussion tomorrow.
Obviously.
Thank you very much. Is that yours?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. We have a question here about the result of making houses with more insulation is that the need for heating will decrease, but in the meantime the need for heating for hot water, domestic hot water, will not decrease, and that means that the relative amount of domestic hot water will increase actually, and how we deal with that, if I understand the question. Yes, that's true. As we say this, from our point of view, we try to in the first place, of course, we try to use very effective components in the domestic hot water system. For instance, valves or very well insulated tanks and equipment that decreases the use of water in liter. For instance, in your shower and so on, we try to decrease the amount of water being used. That's number one. After that, we try also to use thermal solar equipment in one or another way. And that, I think, is, well, it is necessary if we should reduce also the use of energy for domestic hot water. We need to use also the solar to be able to do that. More questions? What was that? That was an answer to a question, okay?
Yes,